Imagine stepping into a moment that should be a celebration, only to be met with rejection. A black director, fresh from winning an Oscar, the highest honor in film, walks into a movie theater to share his success. But instead of congratulations, he's met with disbelief and dismissal. The theater owner, unaware of who he's speaking to, refuses to let him stay, judging him purely by appearances. This shocking encounter reveals how assumptions and prejudice can overshadow even the brightest achievements. How will the director handle this insult? Will the owner realize the weight of his mistake? Stick around to witness the unexpected turn of events in this real-life story of perseverance, success, and the lessons we can all learn about treating others with respect. The director had just come from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood's biggest stage, his Oscar still gleaming in its case. He was eager to experience the joy of seeing his film on the big screen alongside everyday moviegoers. But as he walked into the theater, the owner's sharp gaze followed him, his demeanor cold and unwelcoming. The director, dressed simply and without any entourage, didn't fit the image the owner expected of a celebrated filmmaker. Without asking questions, the owner assumed the worst, dismissing the man with a wave of his hand and a curt tone. The director was stunned but stayed calm, wondering if he should reveal who he was. Instead, he decided to wait and see how far this would go. Behind the scenes, some employees started whispering, sensing that the situation wasn't what it seemed. The air was thick with tension as the misunderstanding deepened. As the director stood silently, the theater owner's voice grew more assertive, insisting he leave the premises. Some patrons nearby began to notice the interaction, their curiosity piqued by the heated exchange. The director maintained his composure, but inside, he couldn't help but reflect on how often assumptions and stereotypes shaped moments like this. He wondered if revealing his identity would teach the owner a lesson or simply let him off the hook without true understanding. Meanwhile, one of the employees, a young usher, watched the situation unfold and felt uneasy. He had a feeling he recognized the man from the news coverage of the Oscars, but wasn't entirely sure. Quietly, he whispered to a colleague, who quickly pulled out their phone and confirmed the director's identity. Word started to spread among the staff, and the atmosphere in the theater began to shift. Still, the owner remained oblivious, his dismissive tone growing sharper as the director calmly held his ground. The theater grew quieter as more people began to notice a standoff near the entrance. The young usher, now certain of the director's identity, tried to summon the courage to intervene. But the owner, still unaware of the whispers spreading among the staff, was adamant. "You need to leave," he repeated firmly, his tone dripping with authority. The director, calm but visibly disappointed, asked, "Do you always treat people like this?" The question hung in the air, but the owner ignored it, assuming he was dealing with someone trying to cause trouble. By now, the news had reached the theater manager, who rushed over to confirm what the staff had discovered. As the manager approached, the tension reached its peak. The employees exchanged nervous glances, waiting to see if someone would stop the owner before it was too late. All eyes were on the director, who remained poised, holding back the truth for just a moment longer. As the manager reached the scene, his expression quickly shifted from confusion to alarm. He recognized the director immediately and tried to pull the owner aside to explain, but the owner waved him off, too caught up in his own assumptions to listen. "I can handle this," the owner said dismissively, unaware of the growing tension around him. Meanwhile, the director glanced around the room, noticing the silent stares of patrons and staff alike. Some seemed intrigued, others uncomfortable, as the situation unfolded. He could feel the weight of the moment, knowing it wasn't just about him, but about something much larger. Then, just as the manager attempted once more to intervene, the theater's marquee lights flickered. A preview for the director's Oscar-winning film was about to begin inside the theater. The crowd murmured, piecing together the truth, but the owner still stood firm, doubling down on his demands. The director remained quiet, waiting for the perfect moment to speak. As the preview for the director's film began to play inside, the owner's voice grew louder, insisting the director leave immediately. The manager, now desperate to avoid further embarrassment, blurted out, "Stop. Do you even know who you're talking to?" The owner turned, confused, but before he could respond, the usher finally stepped forward and pointed to the screen where the director's name appeared in bold letters beneath the film's title. The theater fell into stunned silence. The owner's face went pale as he stared at the screen, slowly realizing the enormity of his mistake. The director finally broke his silence, his voice calm but firm. "I wanted to experience this moment like everyone else, but it seems that wasn't an option for me." The words cut through the air, leaving the owner speechless. As the crowd began to clap for the director, an unexpected twist occurred. One of the patrons approached, introducing himself as a local journalist. He had witnessed the entire ordeal and wanted to share the story to shed light on the deeper issues at play. The director smiled, turning to the owner one last time. Sometimes, moments like these teach us more than we ever expect. Then, without another word, he walked into the theater, leaving the owner standing frozen in the spotlight of his own actions. The theater buzzed with murmurs as the director took his seat inside, surrounded by an audience that now understood the gravity of what had just happened. The owner remained by the entrance, his head lowered, clearly shaken. The manager and staff exchanged glances, unsure how to proceed, but the atmosphere was already shifting. Inside the theater, the director's film played to an engaged crowd, its message of resilience and equality resonating even more deeply after what had unfolded. The journalist kept his promise, writing a thoughtful piece about the experience, highlighting not just the director's talent, but also the challenges he still faced despite his success. For the owner, the incident was a moment of reckoning. He took steps to educate himself and his staff, realizing the importance of treating everyone with dignity. And for the director, it was another reminder that his work mattered, on screen and beyond.